Welcome to another episode of Bespoke and our last of the year, and in my mind, the most exciting. I mean, everyone's been exciting, but this is someone who I could not make a move in my life without, although I've never met her. We have taken a little bit of a break because we recently did a show, and if you haven't seen that yet, check it out here for our Spring Summer 2021 collection. Today, I have the great fortune to welcome someone who, again, I've never met, but has played a huge role in my life because I do not wake up in the morning without checking the Astrology Zone app. I do not make a move any month without consulting the Astrology Zone monthly horoscope. So for me, this is just one of the greatest honors of my lifetime and so exciting. 2020 has been a year unlike any other, and that is putting it lightly. So I want to know what's going to happen in 2021. I want to know more about Susan Miller, about her love for fashion, and all things coming up. So please welcome the Queen, Susan Miller. Susan, it is such a treat to have you here. I don't think I've been more excited about anything this entire year, and I've done some exciting stuff this year. So thank you so much for taking the time to be here.
I'm excited to meet you. Your fashions are so beautiful and so feminine. Love them.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so I was telling everyone in the intro before you came on that if you know me, if you know my life, I do not get out of bed in the morning without reading my morning horoscope from the app, which everybody can get in the App
Oh,
Store.
my new app? You got my new
Yes.
app? Thank you.
Yes, of course. And I read it every single day. And then, of course, I wait every month for the monthly horoscope, and I cannot, do anything without it. So, just for the viewers who don't read Astrology Zone, just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you come from, and how you came to this.
Well, I live in New York City. I never wanted the world to know I knew astrology, ever. It was supposed to be a secret between my mother and I. She didn't want to teach me. She was a scholar. She knew astrology inside out and backwards. She had studied for 8 years in a correspondence class with her sister in a very esteemed place in California that had very famous astrologers from Europe. And then she kept studying after she finished the course, and then married my father, and then I was born. But I was born defective. There's something very wrong with my leg, and no doctor could figure it out. And as a baby, I cried all the time. She thought I was colicky. That was not the problem. But as I got older and could talk, I would say I would be fine, and then I would have an attack, and I'd have to go to bed for approximately 8 weeks each time.
Really?
But it would only happen once a year. And no doctor could figure out what it was. I only went to high school the first half of the sophomore year. After that, the Board of Ed works with kids like this, and they sent a teacher to my house for 2 hours a week. And I asked for 2 hours of math. I could teach myself English. I took my Regents exams, my PSATs, my SATs. I finally graduated, and then I went to New York University. I majored in business because my father said you'll always work if you major in business. They were a very practical family. My father's Italian. He had a beautiful Italian specialty grocery store. My mother said, look, astrology is not accepted, so you mustn't tell people you know it. That was then. Things are different now. But she said it's an enormous advantage to know it. And you can work with the cycles of the universe instead of walking into situations almost as if you're walking into a concrete wall. You work with the flow of the universe. She said, you have to study with me 12 years or you won't be any good. And I said, fine. And she said, yeah, but you'll read for your friends. But I said, I don't have any friends. I'm sick all the time. Do you see anybody coming over here? But I had my grandmother living upstairs and my aunts. So there were 3 aunts plus my grandmother, my sister. There was always someone to practice on. My mother said I always have to be in the room. I would wait 20 years before I would charge for a chart. She was right. Now I write for Vogue Japan, W Korea, Esmoda Spain, Claudia Brazil, Vogue China, Vogue. Well, I just left Vogue Germany and Vogue Greece. They didn't want to do the translations. I was with American magazines, but right now they're having a bit of a hard patch. So,
Well,
I'm
so
waiting.
when you, so you're also a lover of fashion, though, right? I read a quote from you once that said that you would prefer to vacuum the house in a ball gown, right? And I felt like this is
Oh,
definitely
somebody,
someone I need to
that's
speak
so
to.
true. Yes. I'm a dress up girl. Yeah.
And you always have been?
Yes.
Okay,
I
great. See,
also
I
love to
felt like I knew
sew.
you.
People don't know that. When I was little, my mother would say, "Don't you want to go out and play?" I'm like, "No, I have 12 dolls and I've only finished dresses for 7 of them. I have to work on the lace on the collar and the little sleeves and the little baby buttons." And she would say, "Oh, Lord." And she knew I meant it. I was
Wow,
very
Susan,
well.
I gotta come to your house and then you have to come to my office. This is a
We have
perfect
a lot in
friendship
common.
forming. Yeah, for sure. So when you're learning to become an astrologist, because I know a lot of people, I actually first learned about astrology as a young kid, hearing about like Nancy Reagan's obsession with
Well, we
astrology.
know that Mr. Reagan also loved it. He was an actor.
Right.
Creative people love astrology.
Yes, and I feel like around that time, and it's been written about a lot in books as well, and I read a ton of biographies, but I think everybody thought it was a little bit crazy or sort of like
Oh, they
witchy
did.
and spooky. But astrology is actually very much like a science, right? I mean, there's
Mathematical.
not
It's the
right.
study of mathematical cycles. Yes.
So you had to learn with your mother almost like you would go to school. It's a very serious
Absolutely.
subject.
Well, you had to learn how to make a chart because there weren't any computers. That sounds so crazy, but that's the way it was. So, but it's good to learn how to do everything by hand. I am accredited. Many people don't go for an accreditation. I'm accredited by the International Society of Astrologic Research. There's only 3 places you can go: ISAR, which is the one I just mentioned, or NCGR, the National Council for Geocosmic Research, or the American Federation of Astrologers in Tempe, Arizona. NCGR is all over the United States, and ISAR is all over the world. But what I do is I make a folder of 12 signs: a new moon and a full moon for Aries, a new moon and a full moon for Taurus, and so forth. Now, this month is December, but because November had an eclipse on the 30th, I have to include a chart for that. So that's 36 charts, 3 times 12. I have to have the chart of the eclipse on November 30th because you're feeling it as you're entering December. I can't ignore it. I have to put you in a context of where you've been lately and where you're going, and also how you're feeling. Are you feeling frustrated? Are you feeling excited? Have you been meeting up against some opposition? Let me try to melt those blocks, So I have to have a picture of the sky. I cannot do this without printing out 36 charts. Now you say, but you don't know me. How do you do that? Well, I do 0 degrees all the way around, whole house system, when you don't know the person, but I am writing for the world. 52% of my readers are outside the United States, and
Really?
45% are men. That's why you'll notice I try to write non-gender specific. And
Hmm.
I'm a girly girl, but I have to keep my love of makeup and frilly things down. I don't want any man to feel he's in the middle of a conversation that he didn't know how he got there.
You give us such great analogies and metaphors, and you can always like kind of put it right into perspective for us. I feel like so many people read your work, but has there ever been a more important year to read Susan
This,
Miller's
this
work
is
than
really important.
2020?
The millennials are feeling bad because they hadn't put dating first. And now they feel they're going to lose the time to meet someone special. But it's only a year. I felt, see, Jupiter and Pluto have caused this. I did not see it coming. When Jupiter and Pluto come together every 13 years, not very often, they sit down and they have dinner and they decide what they're going to do. Well, Jupiter must have been having a little too much wine, because he was saying to Pluto, wow, I'm so excited to see you. What can I do for you? Let's do something. And Pluto said, well, the universe gave me this virus. Would you help me spread it? Because Jupiter is the great expander. Anything he touches gets bigger. Well, usually it's money, but this time it was a virus. I didn't know. There's a book that we all have if you're astrologers, and it's almost like a dictionary, and you look up the word virus or bacteria, and it says Pluto rules it. So now you look and see what Pluto's doing. Well, Jupiter-Pluto is usually something we look forward to. Bill Gates was born in a Jupiter-Pluto time. So was Robert De Niro, Warren Buffett, Britney Spears. A lot of very successful people are born in that 13-year period, but you have to be born within a few days of Jupiter-Pluto meeting. Now, they met on April 4th, and you know how bad it was in New York on April 4th, but it was also bad in Europe, especially Italy. Now, you can start feeling an aspect like this about a month, 3 weeks before it actually hits, because Pluto moves like a little snail. He takes 248 years to go around the sun, and Jupiter takes 12 years. So it's really hard to get them together. Well, they were meeting again on June 30th, but they were retrograde. And I thought, well, maybe they lose some of their power. Well, they were still pretty strong, because at the end of June and all through July, the Sun Belt in the United States was having a devil of a time. Florida, Arizona, Texas, all the way up to California. But so was Brazil and India, and so was Russia. Well, then they met one more time. And when they met on November 12th, and I was worried about that, because November 12th, they were strong again. And mamma mia, have we had problems since November? I mean, and you know, Pluto rules death. And what do we hear on the news? The death numbers every day. Now, the good news is, on November 12th, they had their final dinner. They said, my friend, I'm not going to see you for 13 years. And Jupiter said, I'm going to miss you. He said, well, we'll meet again. So they started to separate. Now, they won't be 8 degrees apart, which is that's the absolute minimum until Christmas.
So tell us all about 2020, Susan. All about
2021.
it. Oh, 2021. I keep doing that. Sorry. Let's leave her in the dust.
The interesting part is that they'll be really far apart by January 12th. So if we don't start calming down by Christmas, we definitely will by January 12th.
Okay.
And we have to get the vaccine. See, right now, we can't survey the damage. We're still in the process of losing restaurants, of losing so many things that we took for granted. But next year, Saturn and Uranus are clanging and banging together to create actually birth pangs for a new society.
What?
And we are, now you look at Saturn, and what does Saturn rule? All things valuable from the past. Landmark buildings, beautiful old documents like our Constitution or Declaration of Independence, anything old, estate jewelry, or even beautiful fashions by Dior, the new look, and from the past that you don't want to throw out. You want to preserve and save and be inspired by. But then you have Uranus, which is all about the future. And they're like, Uranus is saying, let's innovate. And Saturn's saying, no, let's preserve. Well, this is a good discussion. We'll have it in our private lives, and we'll have it in our whole society's life.
Okay, so if you could say, like, you know, obviously, what do you think, if you had a word or a metaphor for 2021, what do you think it is? Like, is this a time that it's going to be hopeful? Is it going to be like a lot of people say it's the roaring 20s again after
Well, we are
everything?
going to come to that with all the emphasis on Aquarius coming in. People will be helping people. My next door neighbor said to me, he gets food from the city. I was like in shock. He's very intelligent, always asks for my New York Times and Wall Street Journals when I'm done with them, and I always give it to him. Well, now I know I'm going to give him food too. When I cook food, I'm going to cook enough and knock on his door and give him some. And this is going to be replicated all over America, all over the world. Now, there's something very big happening this month on December 21st.
Okay.
We call it the grand mutation. It sounds terrifying. It's a good thing. Every 20 years, Jupiter meets with Saturn. Okay, different. He was meeting with Pluto this year, but now Saturn. When they meet, they set the tone of the times, the theme, and it depends on the sign they meet in and the element.
Okay.
Over the past 200 years, consistently, they met in Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. Every 20 years, the next sign would get a chance at it. And for the first time, they're meeting in Aquarius. And
what does it mean?
From now on, they're going to meet in Aquarius, Libra, Gemini. Aquarius, Libra, Gemini. And this is changing everything. Now, usually now there was one aberration. I say, what was that? 1980, they met in Libra. Whenever the universe is going to do something huge, it gives you little hints.
Okay.
In 1980, they met in Libra, and then 2000, the year 2000, May 2000, they met in Taurus again, an Earth sign.
Okay.
I think it's the babies born in 1980, plus or minus 5 years, 1975, 1985, are going to lead us into the new era because they're born with it in their DNA. And this is huge.
What do you think? What do you think the clothes and the music will be like if you had to guess? Which I know.
Well, Aquarius is very individualistic, whereas Capricorn likes to wear beautiful fabrics, investment dressing, and maybe a little traditional, like that great pair of pants and that beautiful cashmere sweater. Aquarius wants to use fabric from NASA and fabric that's never existed before, and very new and very and bright colors, whereas Capricorn likes neutrals. Now, you can always get a clue when you look out the window in January when Capricorn's born. What do you see? You see white. You see trees that are chocolate brown without any leaves. You see dark black shadows. And that's why they love neutrals, because that was when they were born. But we're going into Aquarius, which was more neon. And although it does rule as the bright gray, there's going to be a lot of charity work done. So people are going to be working together in groups. And you already saw some of this, with the drug companies. The drug companies aren't competing with each other. We had a crisis. They're helping each other. We're working with Britain. We're working with Germany. We're sharing information.
So you see us like making a shift somewhat into being a more compassionate society and
much more. And they're going to live in cities because Aquarius likes to live in cities. Now, I know people have been moving out of New York and not so much in LA, but here to be in a bucolic setting. That's not going to last long. They're coming back.
You think so? Okay. So when is Aquarius?
Aquarius is the end of January, around the 21st, until 19th of February. Some years, the 19th of February is Pisces. The sun doesn't roll in at midnight, at the stroke of midnight. It's sometime during the day. So, a baby could be born early in the morning and one late at night, and they're both different signs.
Okay, this is a big question. So Take your time to think about it. Which signs do you think will have the best 2021?
Well, I think the air signs.
Okay.
What anybody
Those
listening to
are.
this should definitely read Aquarius, because I lay out the whole year. It's 6,749 words, but it lays out the year in such detail that you don't have to be an Aquarian to understand it or benefit from it. They and Gemini and Libra, because Saturn trine the sun or on the sun gives you such luck, and you only get it every 4 years. So it's very lucky. And but you know what's interesting? I think everybody has a shot at happiness next year, because little Jupiter is moving fast. He's just this little sprinter. And what a fast moving planet is an effective planet. When they're slow and tired, it's not good. And when they're retrograde, it's even worse. But when Jupiter if he's running through Aquarius, and he runs right into Pisces on May 13th, which is around Mother's Day. The universe calls him up on his cell phone and says, Jupiter, where are you? You're like the little runner who hit a home run, went to first base, second base, third base, home, and then kept running to first base. You didn't finish your work with Aquarius. I didn't. Come back. But the summer, or spring, I should say, in North Hemisphere countries, from May 13th until July 28th, it's fantastic for the water and earth signs. You're an earth sign.
Virgo's an earth sign?
You're going to have it all, because, you know, when it's in Aquarius, the fire people do well. Air and fire. Air makes fire burn more brightly.
Okay, so what are the signs? Who are the earth signs?
Earth is Taurus, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. Water is Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. Now, the air sign, most of the year is going to be air, and so the fire signs will do well. Air is Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, but then the fire gets along well with air. Aries and Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius are fire.
We've been in a kind of dark, selfish, take everything, get as many likes as possible, everything for me vibe for a while. So you feel like I always think about this in my mind, like, you know, those Disney movies where like the kingdom or whatever has like grown over with grass and there's no more sun and it's all dark, and then like on one bright day, like all the flowers start to bloom again and the light comes out and it rains. Like, do you think it's going to be like that?
Yes.
Okay.
I think we'll be more sensitive to each other, and the clothes we wear, we're going to go to work. We have to be comfortable. We have to be able, well, we're going to be working at home, because companies are not going to have people in those big buildings and pay those big rents. They are going to have places where we can work, but I think it'll be more like, maybe we'll all meet together once a week. So companies might share spaces with other people. I don't know. There's going to be something different happening, and we have to see how it goes.
So do you see anything as a fashion lover? Can you point to anything specifically in 2021 that you think will be reflective or sort of reflective of where we'll be as an industry or where fashion is going?
Well, the fashion always reflects Jupiter's sign. And in Aquarius, it's leisure wear, but with materials that have never been seen before, like as if it were on a spaceship. But remember, Jupiter's running into Pisces from the middle of May to the end of July. And Pisces is a Valentine. It's so feminine. Just like the Roaring Twenties, I think we're very feminine. Do you agree? I think they were.
Yeah, for sure.
And the sparkle, because the little fish, the gills sparkle under the water, you know? So the sparkles come back. In the evening wear, that's where you're going to see people just really embracing it because they'll get to go out. You know what? Whatever's been taken away from you, you really appreciate when it
You're gonna
comes
want it
back.
back for sure. Okay, so the Dior new look came out of the war. So I know that this is not a
In
war, but it is
1947. Yeah.
right. So it's something similar. So if you had to, again, you're not psychic, I know, but if you had to think of an item or
Oh.
something that based on what you've seen in the chart so far that you think will define the period after this, what do you think it would be?
Well, see, because Jupiter's going into two signs, the leisure wear we wear at home is going to be new fabrics that we don't even know about yet, but new, 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 new. I see very luminous silks.
Mm.
Really, there's a subtle shine to them when Jupiter goes into Pisces from middle of May to end of July. The other time, I don't see people going out as much. Now, that period of Jupiter and Pisces comes again in 2022. So
Which
that's
is supposed
just a
to be the
little
year that we're
peek
really
of
back,
what's
right?
coming. Yeah. So, but in 2021, Aquarius, even the makeup is all new textures and new approaches. And very individualistic. I know that that's been a trend for a long time, making it particularly yours, but
Right.
it's coming again, bigger.
Okay, well, you heard it here first. Susan, I really cannot thank you enough for doing this. You have answered all the questions that
I
I've
had
wanted to
so
know.
much fun.
And this was just like the greatest pleasure to be with you. I hope that we'll stay in touch because you are my
Definitely.
icon.
I want you to feel
So,
free to call me anytime.
oh,
And
I
we're
will.
going to have that grand dinner where I read your chart as soon as we're allowed to go out.
I would love it. I would love nothing more. Have the most merry holidays and the best new year, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.